welcome to Pixel Loadout. We said TV, right? Is what we're going with, not Pixel Loadout Live. So glad to have you here with us. We're here live in the UNCG Spartan TV studio, and we're here to talk to you about the biggest news stories about going on in games. So I'm your host, Kevin Harrison, and I have with me my regular co-host, as always.
Hey, I'm DJ.
Okay, and we also have with us as our other regular co-host.
Hey, my name's Trey.
Okay. So guys, what have you been playing this week?
I've been playing lots of League of Legends, personally.
Are you getting ready for Syndra when she comes out, or?
I don't think I'll be able to handle her. I'd rather spin to win.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your hero of choice, though?
Garen.
Just Garen all the time. What about you, Trey?
Primarily Mountain Blade Warband and Minecraft.
Okay, so I know Minecraft, but Mountain Blade Warband, just really quick, what is that?
Basically, it's a medieval strategy game. You control your single character who gains an army, and then you can give basic orders to your army, but they pretty much do what they want. But while you're on the battlefield, you control your character 100%. And there's also some politics involved. It's mostly combat, though, taking over the kingdom of Calradia.
Yeah, it sounds like Kingdom of Camelot kind of staring.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I haven't played that.
Cool. So. I've been playing a little bit of Borderlands to get ready for Borderlands 2 coming out next week. It's a little bit of a lull and a dead week. We've had some DLC stuff come out to review as well that I'll get to at the end of the show. But after this week is when week after week after week we're going to start seeing more and more big releases. So. But we did get a little bit of news actually coming out earlier this week. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was some news that came out on Monday, talking about Halo 4. So DJ, I know this is a big interest between you and me here. There were IGN, I believe, was the site that was hosting it, and a few others. It almost was like a leak kind of, talking about the new weapons that are going to be for what's the name of the enemy that's right now for Halo 4? It's like
the Prometheans.
Prometheans, right? So we got to see. They ended up naming off some of the weapons, things like the incineration cannon, binary rifle, scatter shot, things like that. Mm-hmm. But one thing that we noticed, these are all kind of weapon types we've already seen before, right?
Right. I mean, they're almost like equivalent to the Covenant weapons, simply just they're Promethean. The binary rifle I heard was actually a one-shot kill weapon, which sounds kind of ridiculous in that game, but I don't know. I'm sure they'll find a way to balance it.
Like from the E3 footage that we got to saw, the most unique thing I saw was maybe like the scatter shot, which is the shotty that sort of bounces things all off the walls, right?
It sounds very Unreal Tournament-like.
But still, same sort of like classification of weapons, right? That it just with small modifications here. So honestly, this feels like stuff we've already kind of seen in previous Halo games. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, even the shotgun model, like the human shotgun compared to the scatter shot, the models don't look that different, honestly.
Pretty close in classification. The other thing that was actually interesting is that we actually got to see some new enemies. Essentially, we got 3 different classes of enemies. There was the Prowler, the Knight, and the Watcher. And the Prowler and the Knight both have like 2 subclasses essentially of. They'll end up being lower to like alpha tier and stuff like that. That'll end up being stronger. And then we had the super unit, which is the Watcher. So you think of like the Hunter, right, from previous Halos. It's that sort of like but flying essentially is what we're looking at. So, but I don't know. So this kind of stuff get you pumped up for Halo 4, or I don't know.
I mean, I guess it's neat stuff to learn about. Although honestly, I was expecting the enemies to be a bit more distinct from each other. It seems almost as unusual as just the older Halo games where it was just a blue elite, red elite, gold elite. They don't really seem that distinct, but I mean, supposedly their functionalities are a little different.
Yeah, but we have Halo 4 coming out, I think it's November 2nd, I want to say. Same day as like Election Day.
No,
or is it?
Isn't it the 6th?
6th, okay. I believe. But yeah, so we'll keep an eye out for that. It's near the end of the year.
But go out and vote. You should.
Yeah,
course,
seriously.
Right. Trey, you got some info for Borderlands 2, though, this week, right?
Yes, ended up finding out Borderlands 2's first DLC is actually already announced for October 16th. It's going to be for the Necromancer class. It's going to be free to people that pre-order it, or it's $10 as the DLC. The Necromancer class seems to basically just be like, think of Necromancer but mechanical, so he's animating machines with magic.
I think her name is like Gagey or something like that, but she ends up having a sidekick that you get to summon around. The really cool thing about this is that the extra class got announced something like, I want to say 6 months after the game actually got announced, and it was going to be a pre-order bonus, and they expected it to be like 2 to 3 months after the game got released, but now we're seeing it as being like 3 or 4 weeks, which is just, credit to the guys over at Gearbox. So, I got to go buy, Randy Pitchford some, more laurels for him getting all this stuff done. we've got some more information about Resident Evil 6. So the demo that's coming out, what's the date on that, do you know? Or?
So it's September 18th, which is 1 week from today.
Right.
If you're watching this on a Tuesday.
We got Borderlands 2 coming out next week on September 18th, and the RE6 demo.
Right, and then the Black Mesa Source game will be out in 2 days.
So you'll be busy with that.
Oh yeah.
So some interesting other stuff that came out today, and I want to get your first reaction on this because we sort of know like the debacle that came out with RE5 with the versus mode that was pretty much already on disc, right?
Right.
So they announced 3 different mercenaries mutators essentially that you can play with up to 6 people. So the first one that we have, and these are all going to be post-release DLC, most likely paid for. We know Capcom, right? Because they love doing that.
Oh yeah, it's probably on the disc too.
But the first one's supposed to be called Survivors, where it's 6 people playing. If you die, you end up becoming one of the enemy BOW monsters. You manage to kill 2 humans, you get to become human again, and it's last man standing. So, I don't know, sounds kind of interesting-ish?
It sounds a lot more interesting than just the tacked-on multiplayer mode or the versus mode that they added in Resident Evil 5, because it seemed like it just wasn't balanced, and you know, if the other guy had a machine gun or a grenade launcher, it was pretty much game over.
Right.
This one seems more refined. And
I mean, you're all still essentially fighting enemies, but it is sort of a last man standing thing, so not necessarily against each other.
Right.
There's 2 other, though. We have Predator mode, where one player gets to take control of the Ustanok, which is the big nemesis-looking kind of enemy here with claws and stuff, and he has to fight off 5 other players. That seems like it might be a little more fun.
that is interesting, especially since if you watch some of the gameplay, you saw that he could pretty much carry around, I think, 3 survivors at once, because he can grab one, stick him on his back, and then just go after the other 2.
that is, well, that could make some kind of interesting gameplay, I guess. And then finally we have Siege mode, which is a 3-on-3 variant. We have 3 people taking control of the humans, and then another 3 taking control of enemy hybrid kind of things. And there's 1 NPC in the level that the humans are supposed to guard. If the humans manage to guard it to the end of the time limit, they win. But if the enemies take control, manage to kill it, then it's the end of the round. So
no,
it kind of sounds like Counter-Strike.
It's an escort mission. It sounds like.
Yeah, right in my multiplayer. So, yeah, I don't know so much about that. So Ustanok mode, maybe others. I don't know.
The Last Man Standing definitely sounds interesting. The demo itself that's coming out next week, though, mostly it's just an extended version of the E3 demo, since the E3 demo mostly got so much negative feedback for how short it was. Basically, all it consists of is extended exploration of Tall Oaks University, which is Leon's campaign, just some more action sections with Chris, and you'll actually get some regular Javo combat with Jake and Sherry, and Javo are kind of like the zombies that actually have weapons and shoot at you and stuff.
But it looks to be, pretty action-packed, different from what the Dragon's Dogma thing is.
Right.
Definitely looking forward to it. It'll be good to get our hands on that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and then finally we have Valve in the news this week for a few different things. So this was a little bit of a shocking statistic. Tell me about Valve and EA here.
Yeah, so EA offered to buy Valve for $1 billion, which is fairly reasonable.
Okay.
$1 billion.
Right.
But Valve refused, Gabe Newell saying that they would prefer to disintegrate the company than sell out.
Gabe!
That is a pretty harsh statement
Yeah.
against EA, though EA probably deserves it.
Yeah, EA does deserve it.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion.
Did you also hear about the recent donation thing they were doing? I thought this was so slimy of them to do
Okay,
this.
so lay it out from the top here.
Okay, so they recently announced, at least from the articles, the title what said, EA said that they would donate $1 million, maybe more, to military veterans. But when you actually got in the article and read it, they'd said, oh, they donate it, but it would only be $1 for every map pack that a consumer bought. That is so dirty.
That is pretty. I mean, obviously you have the good press for donating to veterans, but yeah, if it's on that condition.
But I mean, it's like if you're gonna do that, you might as well just set up your own separate charity thing. I mean, you could get a lot more done with that. And I mean, I know that we all have different feelings about Mass Effect 3, but I think we can all agree that this definitely has something to do with them trying to rebuild their reputation after such the negative press they got surrounding it.
Maybe a bit.
Just a little bit, but still, it's just give the money to the veterans here. We don't need to add the conditionals here.
Give it to us.
There's other stuff that are going on Valve. We've had, talking about on the podcast, talking about the quotes about how they're disappointed with the advancement in hardware, talking about how they want to re-revolutionize it. And it looks like this week we got the first step to what that was going to be, talking about the Valve big picture. So, what about like how the Xbox Live the dashboard looks like, right?
Right.
So essentially what it looks like Valve wants to do is something kind of similar to that. They want to take Steam off of the computer and bring it more into the home, so it's like in front of your TV. I don't know if this is something that Steam users were really clamoring for, but they, talk about being able to put a web browser on there, integrate putting your games on there, and even have like a way to type out on a gamepad, which uses this sort of a Lotus kind of thing. It sounds really strange. If we put some video footage up for it, it actually looks like it makes a lot of sense. But have you been clamoring to play your PC games on your big screen TV, or?
Like, not really. I mean, there's already been ways to hook up your computer to almost any TV, at least. And really, I don't know. I think of it maybe as a step for them trying to get towards that whole Steam box thing that they've been talking about before. I don't know.
So this might be their first foray step into it?
Yeah, to see how well they can work on that kind of a display and such.
DJ, what do you think? I mean, do you really want to play? I mean, you got what did you say? Black Mesa's coming out next week?
No, 2 days.
2 days, right? Okay, so you want to play it on the? I mean, if you could play it on the big screen, but you could already do that, even without this big picture thing, right?
Right. There are separate cables you can buy to hook up your computer to your TV anyway. So
don't really see the point, huh?
Not
Maybe
really.
to make Steam a little bit more mainstream, and this feels more like the software side than the hardware side. We're still sort of wondering about the hardware revolution, right? You think controller maybe?
Possibly.
Or a 3D headset? Kind of hard to say.
I don't know. I get tired of the gimmicks. There's been gimmicks in paraphernalia and hardware for video games since the original days of Atari and Sega and Nintendo.
Excuse me.
We're still waiting for that to actually kind of work, right? Hopefully with Kinect 2 with the full body X-ray scan.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm still convinced that the
More
original
invasive
Kinect,
than a prostate exam.
it's just a giant beta test. That's what it seems like.
Yep. Okay, so those were some of the early news stories we had in the week, and going off some of the stuff we had later in the week. Let's see. We're going to do some quick reviews here. Cut back to here in just a bit. Hearthfire is the second DLC expansion to the best-selling 2011 RPG Skyrim by Bethesda Software. Unlike the previous expansion, Dawnguard, Hearthfire offers minimal story content and instead focuses on the creation of a personalized player housing. By completing a short quest, you're given access to tools to build your own custom housing on one of 3 different plots of lands available in the game world. Resources are required in order to build houses and furniture such as iron, clay, stone, and straw. Choices on the layout of your house are somewhat limited, with only a few choices when it comes to customization. Still, the ability to create player space that can be fast traveled to, as well as have access to certain amenities like the forge, enchanting table, and alchemy station, are a welcome addition to the player housing provided in the default game. Other options include hiring a house servant, a bard, a personal carriage, or even adopting children. Hearthfire is currently available on the 360 at the cost of 400 Microsoft points. Plans are underway to make this content available on the PC and later on the PS3, should Bethesda and Sony find a workaround to their current console woes. Mark of the Ninja is a stealth action 2D platformer by Clay Entertainment, makers of the Shank series on Xbox Live Arcade. Mark of the Ninja has you following the story of a singular ninja who has been granted heightened senses through an ancient mystical tattoo system, tasked with defending his clan. These powers will come at a terrible cost, however, as all prior recipients have been noted to eventually go insane. While the story is standard fare and nothing to write home about, Mark of the Ninja excels above and beyond in presenting classic stealth gameplay elements and moment-to-moment tactical puzzles. Controls are tight and precise and allow you to zip around the battlefield at lightning speed, or take a few moments and plan out your course of attack. The user interface also offers a great amount of information, showing if you blend into the shadows with a silhouette technique, enemy line of sight, and sound projection from expanding blue rings. The player is also given the choice of playing through as a deadly assassin or a silent infiltrator. Both playstyles are rewarded with a persistent upgrade system and allow you to more effectively sneak or better employ deadly ninja traps. Mark of the Ninja is available now exclusively on the Xbox Live Arcade for 1,200 Microsoft points and offers hours of gameplay with a good amount of replayability. Okay, and we're back, and we're going to close out the show today with a final question here. This is just something I sort of came up with. I want you guys have some pretty favorite game series that you like, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you could pick one to turn into like a TV series, let's say a la Walking Dead or Breaking Bad or something like that, which one would you pick? I know if I personally started with me, there was talk we've had recently about Metal Gear Solid getting turned into a movie. I almost think part of it might work better as a TV show, but that's just me. So Trey, how about you? What do you think?
I'd have to go with the old Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. I personally think that area would be like a very like Game of Thrones type feel to it, with the different factions and a lot of political intrigue going on. And I personally think that would actually make a really good show.
How do you cast your silent protagonist though?
I mean, you could either go gimmicky and have actually like somebody not talk the entire time, which would be silly, but it'd be easy. You could just fill in any heroic person for that role if you really needed to.
Brad Pitt. No. DJ, what about yourself?
Honestly, I would like to see a BioShock show. Maybe centering around right before Rapture kind of just
Goes
went,
nuts.
just sort of the social implications of living in an isolated underwater city could be interesting.
BioShock 2 multiplayer, but done right.
Right.
Gotcha. And that's all that we've got for today. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week.